In this segment, we're going to practice calculating the slope. And the formula is there, and really what goes into it is just these three aspects. We have the correlation itself, and then we have that multiplied by the standard deviation of the dV over the standard deviation of the predictor. So just a few things before we do that. The slope, which is the b sub yx, it's also known as the unstandardized b weight. And just a quick note on that, sometimes the b weight is a capital B, and a lot of times it's noted as a lowercase b. So I'm going to use the lowercase b, but just know that SPSS in the output, I believe it's a uppercase b, and in process, I believe, which we'll use later, in that output is also a capital B. But know that the capital B and the lowercase b are synonymous. Now, if it's a Greek beta, that is a different thing, but we will get to that later. Okay, so this slope, or the b sub yx, is also known as the unstandardized b weight, and unstandardized just means that it's in the raw score form, in the raw metric of that study. And so literally it's the, when you score one more point on the GRE, what happens to the GPA. We will get into later standardized b weight, which is when we go one standard deviation on the predictor, what would we expect for the dV? So that is another thing that we'll see later. But we would want standardized beta weights, we call them, to be able to compare across studies. Again, so with these raw b weights, under standardized, we can't compare them across studies, but the beta weights we can. So, but for now, for calculating the slope, let's stick with the unstandardized. The unstandardized, the b sub yx is also called the unstandardized regression coefficient. So there are two terms for these weights, or slopes. One is just b weight, and the other or beta weight, and the other is regression coefficient, which could refer to either. So that's the terminology. Okay, so we have our three pieces of information. We have our correlation, which is 0.6, remember, for the GPA GRE. And then we have the standard deviation of GPA, which is 0.6, kind of narrow, but that's pretty common for GPA since the range is so small. And then we have standard deviation of the GRE, which is 48.62. And you can just go into SPSS and get those and check the work. Make sure this is all correct. And then you would put this into the formula, those pieces of information, and you would get a slope of approximately 0.007562. Now, I went out to many decimal places just for increasing of accuracy to put it into formulas later. I believe we'll do more of that later, but so the answer is under the slide in the notes. I put the slope answer there. Just so you know, unstandardized b weights aren't exchanged in the sense that it's not like you can do, let's say we switch things up where we have GRE as the outcome and we have GPA as the predictor, just as a hypothetical. We would get a different b weight in that case. In that case, it would be, as we move one point up in GPA, what happens to GRE? And that's a different question, so it's a different b weight. So you can calculate the b weight with x and y reversed in that way just to see what happens. So go ahead and play with this formula, play with the numbers, and just become really comfortable with the formula and the concepts.